안녕하세요. Riding on the Korean wave. Welcome to Tuesday's edition of The Culture Wave. I'm Kwon-soa in Seoul. Explore with us Korea's culture from all aspects and stay up to date with K-entertainment, K-artifacts, K-words, K-everything. And before you know, you'll be booking your flight to Korea. And I'm joined by our co-host Walter Lee in the studio today. Hello, Walter.
Hello, Soa, and hello everyone at home. I'm Walter Lee, here to provide you with the latest in K-Enter news.
Well, Walter, there is a lot happening in the world of K-entertainment here in Korea. Controversies, the passing of celebrities.
Yes.
So we're going to start off with K-enter news today with you, Walter. And we're going to begin with a lawsuit between the family of late Kim Sae-ron and a well-known YouTuber.
Yes, we'll start off on a sour note, So the family of late actress Kim Sae-ron have filed a complaint against a YouTuber by the name of Lee Jin-ho on defamation charges. Now, the lawyer representing Kim Sae-ron's family submitted a complaint against Lee to the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency on Monday afternoon. Now, the charge is defamation due to the spread of false information. Now, the YouTuber had accused Kim Sae-ron of posing as the actor Kim Soo-hyun's girlfriend. Now, Kim Jin-ho had posted...
Lee Jin-ho, that is, right?
Yes. Kim Jin-ho...
Lee Jin-ho?
Lee Jin-ho, had posted content on his channel claiming that Kim Sae-ron was spreading false information, calling it more of a staged romance. He has been a critic of Kim since 2022 when she was involved in a drink driving incident. Now, Kim Sae-ron's legal team claimed the accusations put her under severe mental toll. And the lawyer representing Kim Sae-ron's family stated, quote, "In order to disprove the false information, the family had no choice but to reveal the truth about the relationship and release past photos as evidence." Now, the family are also considering legal action against Kim Soo-hyun.
And that because late Kim Sae-ron's family is claiming that Kim Sae-ron was underage when she dated Kim Soo-hyun, while Kim Soo-hyun is saying that she was an adult when they met. So I'm sure you're going to keep us updated on this evolving issue. And moving on to some news on the late singer Wheesung.
Yes, it was a bad week for celebrities, but the family of the legendary singer Wheesung has decided to donate all the condolence money given at his funeral. Now, on Monday, Wheesung's younger brother announced that the decision through his agency, saying all the condolence money received during the funeral will go to useful places that can have a positive social impact of the name of the singer Wheesung. So his brother also said, "Once again, we deeply thank everyone who remembered and visited Wheesung." So a final cause of death has yet to be determined, and the National Forensic Service has said it is expected to take 2 to 3 weeks, possibly, for the detailed examination results to be released.
Right. A very kind and considerate donation that we hope goes to a worthy cause.
Yes.
Now, Walter, let's end on a lighter note and move on to the subject of K-pop. We have been seeing this girl group rise throughout the past years, and especially they have been gaining a lot of attention on social media, and I think it's also one of your favorite groups.
Yes.
Who are we going to talk about?
It is one of my favorite upcoming groups. Yes, they've been getting a lot of social media attention. I'm talking about NMIXX, and NMIXX released their new 4th mini album. It's called FE304 Forward, along with their title track called Know About Me. Now, this new release follows their 2nd mini album FE304 Break and 3rd mini album FE304 Stick Out, now marking the final installment of their FE304 album series. Now, meanwhile, NMIXX has been announced as a performer for the 2025 iHeartRadio Wango Tango, a US festival set to take place at May 10th at Huntington City Beach in California. Additionally, as part of their 2nd fan concert tour in April, they will also hold performances in Taipei and Hong Kong, both of which are sold out.
Great news for NMIXX and also for you, Walter, as a fan. And thank you for those K-Inter updates. Stick around. And now let's move on to more culture news with our AI anchor, Ari. Ari, what stories do we have for us today?
Hello and welcome to your AI guide to the latest cultural updates from Korea. Here's our top story. The Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism announced on Tuesday that the city of Andong in Gyeongsang-buk-do Province has been awarded the title of Culture City of East Asia 2026 for Korea, promoting its slogan Andong where peace resides and minds rest. The Korean Culture City will host various events throughout 2026 in collaboration with the other selected cultural cities of China and Japan. Nominating a culture city every year was an initiative jointly launched by Korea, China, and Japan, in an effort to encourage deeper mutual understanding and stronger solidarity within the region, and has been a part of cultural exchange and collaborative projects since 2014. Marking a landmark 30th anniversary of the Korean Pavilion's construction at the Venice Biennial, an exhibition will be held to look back on 3 decades of the pavilion's architecture, focusing on the untold stories of the space that has often been underestimated as merely an exhibition venue. The professional architectural curator collective CAAC has been appointed as the curator. The exhibition, under the title Little Toad, Unbuilding the Pavilion, explores the architectural meaning derived from the establishment process, the relationships with other countries' pavilions, and the sustainability of the biennial. The exhibition will be held for 6 months from May 10th to November 23rd. Prominent art galleries in Korea will be gathering at the annual Galleries Art Fair next month. Established in 1979, this fair is not only Korea's first art fair but also the longest running. Marking the beginning of the year's art fair season, this event also helps gauge the atmosphere of the art market for the year, with member galleries of the Galleries Association of Korea exhibiting and selling their works. This year, 168 member galleries will be participating, including major galleries like Hyundai, Johyun, Bukje, Hakgoje, and Bian. Starting with a VIP preview on April 16th, the art fair will run until the 20th in COEX. That's all from me. Keep it tuned to the Culture Wave.
Korean technology was used to newly restore 2 pieces of Korean cultural heritage artifacts, an 8-panel screen and the bridal garment of royalty, both from the Joseon dynasty. The Hallyu Museum of Art and Dankook University participated in the restoration works, but these Korean artifacts actually belong to an American museum, which means now that the restoration work is completed, they will be returned after their display in Korea. Ian Jin tells us the full story.
The Hallyu Museum of Art will be displaying 2 Korean artifacts from the 19th century following their restoration. The 8-panel screen titled Welcoming Banquet of the Governor of Pyongan illustrates the boat ride crossing the Taedong River and the banquet welcoming the newly appointed governor of Pyongan Province in 1826 during the Joseon dynasty. Since 1927, this artifact has been housed in the Peabody Essex Museum in Massachusetts in the United States. There had been severe wear from leaving its homeland and over the passage of time, and the 8 panels were stored separately, making it difficult to even determine their exact sequence. It took over 16 months for its restoration.
There were parts of the painting missing, from small details to the entire bottom chunks. So we focused on how we could blend those parts without adding new brushstrokes.
Accompanying the folding screen is the hwarot, a traditional wedding robe worn by women during the Joseon era as early as the year 1392. With only about 50 versions of this garment surviving today, the hwarot was once reserved for royalty and aristocrats before becoming common among ordinary brides. It took experts in Dankook University roughly 13 months to restore the hwarot, including research on the fabric and dye of its material and embroidery techniques.
We stuck to a few rules. Don't harm the original form, remove the cause of the damages as much as possible, and contribute to adding to the beauty of the hwarot.
The two artifacts that have been restored with Korean technology belong to the Peabody Essex Museum in the United States, which has been buying Korean artifacts since the beginning of diplomatic relations between the two countries in the late 1800s. And in 2003, as part of the museum's expansion project, its new wing included a gallery devoted entirely to Korean arts.
We are accepting support from various organizations around the world for our conservation program. We had decided that the support needed for the preservation work of the Peabody Essex pieces would come from such programs.
So far, the Overseas Korean Cultural Heritage Foundation has supported 58 projects across 10 different countries, not only ensuring that the Korean cultural heritage overseas is preserved, but also displaying them to a global audience. But this is the first time that a private art museum has taken part in the restoration efforts as a contribution to society. After the special exhibition at Lyeom, the Peabody Essex Museum will showcase the two restored Korean objects in May. 이은진, Arirang News.
Kimchi, soju, 불닭, mukbang, that is, words that anyone interested in Korean culture has probably heard of before. These are also some of the Korean terms that made an increased appearance on global media platforms last year. This, according to data recently released by Korea's Culture Ministry in its annual Global Hallyu Trends Analysis. Let's delve deeper into the findings of the trending K-key words with David Tizard, Professor of Korean Studies at Seoul Women's University and Hanyang University, who is joining us online today. Hello, Professor Tizard.
Hello, Professor.
Good afternoon. It's great to see you both, and thank you for saying K-key words so I don't have to, because that sounds difficult.
I know. We're talking about many words today, but that was a mouthful. Well, Professor Tizard, let's talk about this Global Hallyu Trends Analysis, which for its latest report looked at some 680,000 pieces of data from October 2023 to September 2024, based on foreign news articles, social media discussions, and more. So, what were the top Hallyu keywords?
Yeah, so this is a very immense study that's taken place, and it just reaffirms that what we already know, that Korean culture is popular around the world, and that's what the word Hallyu means. It means the Korean wave. It means products, culture, words, ideas that originate in Korea and then spread overseas. So that's the wave aspect of it. We know it's so popular because we can see it, and there's even now a ministry that studies and promotes these things. Now, this culture moves so quickly. So as you said, this study that was done took place a little while ago. So when we see some of the words come up, words like BTS and Blackpink, that was very big in Asia and Europe. That sort of confirms the strong fan base and the media coverage that these groups were getting. If you look at North America and the United Kingdom, the big words and the trends from the data in those regions, it's very interesting. There's keywords like kimchi, 불닭, and mukbang were trending. And these point to more culinary interest, and there's sort of food programs and Netflix documentaries that go along with those. Turkey and China, those had a high percentage of K-dramas, K-movies. And then when you get into Southeast Asia, when you get into India, Thailand, the Philippines, these regions, it was really K-pop that was the most discussed. And what this data did, it really reaffirmed what other data has shown us, that when we look at sort of these K-pop huge numbers that they get online, yes, K-pop is very popular in the West, and we have all these media reports about K-pop breaking the West, but sometimes we're very quick to ignore just about where K-pop is popular, and we sort of neglect the true origin. And a lot of the data shows that in the Philippines, in Indonesia, in India and Thailand, K-pop is so incredibly popular. Just one last point on this, based on my own experience back in the United Kingdom during January and February, I spent 5 weeks there. K-food is everywhere. It's in the streets. There's Korean restaurants, there's Korean supermarkets, there's bunshik or street food available. And amongst my demographic of people in their 30s or 40s, they're more likely to have eaten Korean food than perhaps to have seen a K-drama or a K-pop. So Hallyu is still spreading. It's spreading at an immense speed, but it's spreading differently to different parts of the world.
It's very interesting to see how these key words differ by country and continent and also even by generation.
I definitely agree. And Professor, you may have already kind of answered my question, but what do you think is the biggest force behind Korean words or cultural aspects becoming so widely used abroad? Now, like you said, that K-pop is one of the biggest forces behind it.
Yeah, that's undeniable. Whether K-pop is still a thing or not remains to be seen. I find more and more of my students say they used to be K-pop fans. Of course, it's still very popular. And last week I wrote a column in the newspaper arguing or discussing whether Jennie, with her Doechii collabs and things like that, whether that's still K-pop or not. Many people are inclined to say it feels just more like pop music. What's driving this emergence of Korean words around the world? It's that Korean culture, but it's also social media and streaming platforms. It's this big focus on looking around the world for something unique, something, and I hesitate to use this word, exotic or something different. What's really helped that over the last, let's say, half a decade or so is that Netflix and other streaming platforms, now they have incredible subtitles. If you went back 10 or 20 years and tried to access Korean content abroad, it wasn't just the difficulty in accessing these things. It was that when you did, you often came across subtitles that felt a bit sort of archaic, or they didn't really convey what was going on. Now we have sort of TCKs, we have people of mixed heritage, we have people that understand multiple cultures, and streaming platforms and even sort of personal translation sites and websites are really being able to communicate Korean culture authentically or in a way that resonates with the rest of the world. So I think it's not just Korean culture itself, but the way we've been able to communicate that through subtitles, through language, through sort of localization to local markets. And I think that's been super important.
Now, Professor Tizard, we're now going to go a little deeper into these actual Korean words. Now, I can explain to a foreigner by now what kimchi is, or mukbang, or oppa, or hanbok. But there are some words that really can only be fully understood in Korean and are really difficult to translate. So what are some of those?
Some of the words that are really difficult to translate from my personal perspective that are not necessarily in this data report, you might find 답답해, you might find yoyu, which you hear all the time, even something like 선생님, which means teacher. But it doesn't always mean teacher. So some of the hardest words to translate in Korean culture, I find, is not a word like nunchi, because that might be emotional intelligence. It's not maybe a word like jong, which sometimes just mean a bond between two people. Sometimes for me, the hardest words to translate are what we call hoching, or titles. So in Korean culture, if somebody is a little bit older than you, you might call them hyung or nuna or songsaengnim, these kind of things. And this is really hard to translate because it's not linguistic, it's culture. So if somebody says to you in Korea, oh, I met my sister yesterday, you have to stop and think, is that your real sister or a sister? Like, these are some things that are really difficult to get across. And what's so interesting is that when people overseas watch K-dramas, when they watch, you know, IU on Jeju Island and things like this, and the latest series of Squid Game, what they'll see in the subtitles is often, particularly in English, they'll see the names of characters rather than the hoching or the titles through which they're addressing to each other in Korean. And so you're not getting some of that cultural relationship, which is heavily implied in the original language. Now, some fans of Korean culture, they want the authenticity. They want the subtitles to say hyung, oppa, nuna, 동생, these kind of things. But if you put that to people that don't really know Korean culture, they're going to be taken aback and say, why is this guy's name oppa? What does that mean? And so that's really where the translation issue comes in, because it's not linguistic so much, it's cultural. If I can, I'll say one point really quickly, that some of the words that are making the dictionary and being used, such as like 애교 and oppa, they're words that are actually going out of fashion in Korean culture itself. Sort of the 애교 and the oppa culture is being heavily discussed by sort of 20-something Koreans, and yet they're the words being included in the overseas push. That's quite interesting to me.
It is. And you just mentioned that really hoching is really difficult to explain to people. For instance, Walter and I are the same age. We're not going to reveal how old we are, but that means we are 친구, even if we might not be friends. real close friends, we would say 친구 because we're the same age.
We're not close friends?
We are, of course. It's an example. But then again, for instance, if I might have been working longer than Walter here at Arirang TV, then I could be a 선배. I could be someone like a senior, even though I'm the same age. So these are really difficult to translate, especially as you mentioned in subtitles. That was a great point. Now, Professor Tizard, what would be, if you do have one or two, your favorite Korean word?
My favorite Korean words. It's a very great question. I love sabasa, which is a new one which refers to person by person. Comes from kebaka. But this reflects the growing individualism in Korean. Sabasa, you do you, I'll do me. Don't yuck someone's yum. So I love that. Sometimes I say mun ba mun, munwa by munwa, and my Korean students look at me and say, you can't say that, Professor. But I just did. I like pom michotta, which means you're crushing it. 미쳤다, your form is crazy. These days, because of the weather, 삼한사온. And then the best Korean expression that I love so much is 산 넘어 산. Over the mountains, there are mountains, which is literally true in Korea. But it also means if you get through something in your life, guess what? Something else is coming as well.
Wow, maybe some of those were even... Did you know all of these, Walter?
Yeah, I actually have used a lot of them as well.
And you also earlier mentioned, Walter, one of the words that you really like to say in Korean but are really difficult to translate is?
Yes, like, especially when you're eating food, 고소하다, right? It's extremely hard to, especially in Korean food, it's used so much, but we can't actually translate that in English, but in Korean, it's used so much to describe a taste, but you could never really express it in English.
You would kind of say nutty flavor.
Yeah, like a nutty flavor,
really
but
nutty.
it's not nutty. It's just crazy.
Right.
So yeah, it's a very hard thing to translate.
It is.
So anyway, have you ever encountered any K-pop fandom slang or newly created Korean words that surprised you, and how are they spreading globally? For example, I can think of the word bias. That's something that I hear quite often when it comes to global slang.
Yep, there are some words like that, and I've seen reports that say, you know, these Korean words are going into the international arena. Words like bias, words like stan, words like debut and come back, and I think to myself, they're English. Like, they're not necessarily Korean, and they can be immediately understood by someone. So I don't think they're too difficult, but words like 막내, for example, the youngest member of a group, the cutest member, words like 대박, these are words that you wouldn't know when you first saw them. You'd have to get them through context. 대박 would be, you know, something amazing or wow, but also just shorter expressions, such as like 아이고, 엄마, or even just using in the comments section, which I think more and more international people are doing when they tune in and they watch or listen to Arirang television and radio. They might be in the comment section and they might put rather than LOL or things like this. So this is where I see real genuine use of the language online. It's in these sort of expressions and emoticons and the way we reveal feelings to other people. It's not just always these deep philosophical and culinary words.
And last but not least, Professor Tizard, what do you think would be the next Korean words that could be trending in the next report for these year's words? And also just very quickly, what are the criteria for Korean words making it into English dictionaries like Oxford? Is it that frequency, or for example, through these reports?
Yeah, if I can go with the second question very quickly first. What is the criteria for getting these Korean words into it? A lot of it is consultation with experts and then the usage. So sometimes these experts, they're kind of elderly people and they're professors, and this is not to degenerate them or to talk bad about them, but obviously they're a bit older. And sometimes when I see this list of words being added, I feel like this is like 5-10 years out of date sometimes. And so it is through consultation with experts. And then there's another thing on the spelling of words. Sometimes when you see these words that have gone into the English dictionary or the Oxford Dictionary, if you saw it and you tried to pronounce it phonetically, you would get nowhere near close to how you're meant to pronounce it in Korean. And so, for example, I've heard you, when you say kimchi or seol, you immediately go into that Korean pronunciation, which is super important. So that's how they go in. What words will come in next year? I'll be very quick. Maybe Keomryong, martial law, that might be one that has to go in, I say that. But I would like to see Saju or maybe Mudang, because most Korean young people, they're going to fortune tellers. They're doing this online Saju or things like this. And also the word Mudang, the word shaman in English doesn't really describe a Mudang correctly. A lot of people are sort of taking umbrage with that usage. So maybe something political, or then maybe something that involves these young people's daily lives, such as fortune telling and that kind of thing. I don't know what you think about those ideas.
Oh, I think there are some very interesting ideas. Well, thank you very much, Professor Tizard, for your insights today. Our talk with you today was 대박, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Professor.
See you next time, guys. Thank you very much.
And thank you, Walter. As always, I'm not going to be a 꼰대 and make you call me 선배. We are 친구s.
That's right. Hopefully, yes.
We'll talk to you again soon as well.
Soon.
See you. And thank you for spending the past half an hour with us on the Culture Wave for your daily dose of K-culture issues. Thanks for watching.